Hi there, it's been a while, but sadly today, or yesterday, we found out that we got the return of the Black Thursday curse with WWE as we got releases. Uh, Obviously, we knew it was this was on the books once the merger with UFC into TKO officially happened, and apparently this isn't anyone in particular like deciding. It was because of the merger, and obviously we got two waves of releases. One was a bit of a mixed one because there were a few NXT names in the first lot, but it was mainly main roster names, and the second lot were NXT guys. But I'll get into it. But the first wave of names was Mustafa Ali, who obviously has been vocal online in the last couple of years. Obviously, asked for his release before, but was denied. But apparently, was actually doing quite well, and obviously he was due to face Dominic for the North American title at No Mercy. So that comes as quite a bit of a shock. The fact that they've just taken him out of a program. The other thing is, like I said, he was obviously a fan favourite and that, but this being said, though, he's wanted out of WWE for a while. If you go off of what he said, like months and years ago, he's one of the few that I'm more interested in seeing where he goes, because he has a lot of potential outside of WWE, especially like in AEW or like New Japan, definitely. But there is a lot of potential. But yeah, going off of that, there you had Emma, who was really shocked because she went online to celebrate the fact that Elimination Chamber is going to Perth in Australia next year. And obviously Emma being Australian, was really looking forward to it, but obviously that didn't happen. And to be honest, Emma being a Triple H return rehire last year since when he took over, but she didn't really do much. I think she had like one TV match with Ronda when she was still champ, but even then, I don't think it was much. But yeah, so she'll be one that'll be fine. She's obviously made her name as Tennille Dashwood, her real name, outside of WWE. So I'm reckon she'll go back to Impact and really help the Knockouts division. So I think she'll be fine. Then the next one's Rick Boogs. Yeah, really didn't do much after his partnership with Nakamura ended after his injury at WrestleMania. Shame, but he's another one that I could see in like Impact could do well, especially his sort of like energetic character. I think that could work. Then it was Aaliyah. Aaliyah is somebody that just never got a break. I mean, obviously she is a former women's tag team champion, but then immediately got injured, and had never come back. She got injured last year shortly after winning the tag belts with Raquel, but never really came back and that. But yeah, she's another one. I don't even think WWE would have done anything with her anyway. But yeah, that being said, up next was Elias, who is probably one of the more interesting ones, because apparently the report was that he's been working with WWE without a contract for the last couple of months. Obviously he hasn't been on TV, but he's been still part of the company. Obviously Elias is one of the more popular stars of all time, having that very famous segment with Kevin Owens on Raw where they just got the crowd so heated that the crowd just booed the whole segment to the point where they couldn't carry on. Obviously, that walk with Elias was always over. Obviously, he got to, as he pointed out in a tweet that he made, he got to have a segment with, or led into the segment of the match with Undertaker and John Cena at WrestleMania. He also, had that moment with Cena at, I want to say, WrestleMania 39, where Cena came out as Thugonomics after a Babe Ruth video package. But yeah, and then obviously in the last notable thing Elias did was the whole Ezekiel angle, which I wasn't a huge fan of. Besides, like, the little segment with, like, Kevin Owens doing the lie detector thing of, like, going around saying it was Elias, but it isn't. It just gave me, obviously, it was very heavily influenced by the McMahon Mr. America segment they did years ago. But that was very funny, and Owens is a very good actor and comedian, so he could easily do something like that. But yeah, then you got Riddick Moss Egon, obviously the former Madcap Moss, he's also obviously engaged to Emma, which I do believe was one of the reasons why she came back to WWE, was to be with him more. But again, never really did anything besides being Happy Corbin's sidekick. But even then, after that, just was there, which is and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it kind of has an overview of, like, these are stars that were in the lower mid card, or just in catering. They weren't like on screen talent that was being utilised every week, bar, I would say, 2. Obviously, Mustafa Ali being one, and Dana Brooke, who we'll get to in a bit. But next up was Top Dollar, which is really interesting because Ashante Dionanis and BFAB weren't released, so only Top Dollar of Hit Row was released. Obviously, this isn't the first time he's been released. Obviously, all of Hit Row were released back in 2021, I want to say it was, when they did the huge set of releases. But yeah, again, didn't really do much, and ever since he failed to go over that top rope, that was the nail in the coffin for him. He never had a chance to get back from that and that. But yeah, quite interestingly, Shelton Benjamin has been released. Obviously, him being a very well known and very beloved fan favourite. Not the first time he's been released, but since his return, I think back in 2017, hasn't done anything of noteworthy besides the Hurt Business. But even then, he was only in the tag team with Cedric. But he's another one that I think has potential if he wants to carry on with wrestling. I think he's got a really good chance in AEW, but even like putting him in Ring of Honor, I think would work really well. And that, but obviously it's up to him. Obviously he's more on, I don't want to say older, but he's more on the older side, veteran side of this than a lot of the other names on this list. But then we come to the absolute most shocking one of them all, and that's Dolph Ziggler. Now, Ziggler is the most shocking because it's Dolph, and he is the biggest name out of them all. Obviously, he still wasn't being utilised, but it's surprising. he's been with the company since 2004, and he has had one of the most noteworthy careers in WWE, starting off in the Spirit Squad as Nikki, then going up to as turning into Dolph, having his partnership with Vicky, and then AJ and Big E, obviously being Money in the Bank, 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, multiple-time Intercontinental and US Champion. I mean, he really seemed like to be one of the more WWE lifers, much in the same way The Miz is. They will never leave. They won't do anything outside of WWE. They'll stay there until the day they retire. But no, he's been released. Obviously, very shocking, but he's the one up there with Mustafa that has got so much potential outside of WWE. Obviously, his brother Ryan Nemeth is in AEW. A lot of dream matches over there, and in New Japan he could do well. And he was featured on Being the Elite earlier this week, so there's already interest from AEW in him. So yeah, very shocking, and I will be interested and looking into where he goes. But the other thing what's worth mentioning is the outpour of love from like all wrestlers, not just in WWE, everyone, for Dolph, which was actually quite nice to see, and especially when The Rock and John Cena have got weighed in on it. That shows how important a lot of people saw Dolph as. So yeah. Wave 2 of the releases, or the NXT side of releases, besides 2 names, we started off with Dana Brooke, who was the other person that was obviously on screen, like Mustafa Ali in NXT, and was actually being utilised, which is obviously surprising that they cut her from her from TV, who obviously was being utilised, but at the same time, she's been in WWE for years now at this point, but has never really been utilised at all. I don't think she's ever won a belt, not even the tag belt. So, and she was always just a body, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it as, oh, we need an extra person. Oh, here's Dana Brooke. But yeah, I mean, the last time I can really remember her doing something was obviously when she first came up to the main roster, where she was like Charlotte's like sidekick. But even then, that didn't last long. And then she's like done nothing for the rest of her time. Obviously, I hope she does well in that and whatever she chooses, but yeah. Next up, and I'll group these two together because they were a tag team, Mansoor and Mace, obviously former members of the Maximum Male Models, and that, obviously LA Knight and Maxine leaving the group and that, and going off to have, to be fair, in both defences, very successful and very popular careers at the moment. Obviously, LA Knight is very over, and Maxine is very over with the Alpha Academy. But with the other two, Mansoor and Mace, they just kind of floated around, waiting to be repackaged, and just never got happened. And apparently, that was because Vince didn't really want them. Obviously, Triple H really was a fan of the campy act they had and wanted to push that further, but Vince didn't want it, and they've just been sitting at home until they got repackaged, and obviously nothing happened of it, which is a disappointment because I really enjoyed them, and I thought they were quite a fun comedy duo. You know, I'm not saying they're on the same levels or taking shots at them, but they were fun in the way of like the headbangers were in the Attitude Era, you know, goofy a goofy tag team that you can get behind into, and that doesn't need to do much, but they were fun. So yeah, I think they're another one that could probably another two that could do well in like an Impact Wrestling, especially with like people like Fandango or Dirty Dango, Santino, who's over there, who've done well for themselves outside of WWE with comedy characters. So yeah. The next one I'm not really sure on. I've not really heard much of them. But Quincy Elliott, I think that's like an NXT. I think they're an NXT person, and obviously not knowing much. It's sad that they've lost their job, and hope they get their good luck in their future endeavours and that. The next person is obviously again on the same levels of Quincy Elliott, but at least they had two memorable moments as Dabba Kato, who you might remember as Commander Aziz, Apollo Crews' Nigerian guard or enforcer. I generally can't remember what the character was. And he was also like the bodyguard of Shane in Raw Underground, or the Muscle. Again, never really did anything, so obviously it's not nice that they've lost their job, but yeah. And apologies if I butchered this name, but Julius Leon, she's another NXT person. Again, don't really know anything about her, but obviously hope she does well outside the WWE. If she can find anything, good luck. And obviously this goes for everyone who got released today or yesterday. I hope they do well in their future endeavours and that. But I don't want to say, like I said earlier, I don't want to be mean, but none of these, besides obviously Dana Brooke and Mustafa Ali, who were on-screen talent, but even on the lower mid-card, or in the case of Mustafa, mid-card, they're all like people that were just sitting backstage, or not even that backstage in the case of like Aaliyah and Mace and Mansoor, who apparently have been at home for like months doing nothing. But there are people there that could do really well outside the WWE and could reinvent themselves and become like stars. And obviously, I hope everything goes well for them and that. And that's it for like this short video of just me going through the releases. Please go to my Facebook group, which will have a link in the description, where I've got the list of the releases and other content on there just for wrestling basis. And I hope to enjoy. See you soon. Bye.